Good evening, one and all. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and I'm once again covering the healthcare bill. I know it's a law now, but we're going to go with bill because that's what I started out with, so that's what we're going to go with. Anyway, I was talking in the last video about Section 414 of the Internal Revenue Service Code of 1986. I have found Section 414. It is definitions and special rules, so what we're going to do is going to define things. Alright, and the first thing I'm going to define, remember we were talking about, we were going to have to find subsections B, C, D, it's B, C, M, and O, B, C, M, and O of Section 414 of the Internal, you get the idea. So, let's read you Section B. Section B says, employees of controlled group of corporations. For purposes of Sections 401, 408K, 408P, 410, 411, 415, and 416, all employees of all corporations which are members of a controlled group of corporations within the meaning of Section 1563A, determined without regard to Section 1563A4 and E3C shall be treated as employed by a single employer. Okay, so even though the employees are a part of a corporation, they're going to be treated like that they're employed by a single employer. With respect to a plan adopted by more than one such corporation, the applicable limitations provided by Section 404A shall be determined as if all such employers were a single employer. So in other words, if you have a company that's like subdivided into sections, then even though that company is subdivided into sections, it will be treated as though it were one employer and allocated to each employer in accordance with regulations prescribed by the Secretary. Okay, going down to Section C. Whoops, we went a little too far. Government, no, hold it. Employees of partnership, proprietorships, etc., which are under common control. For purposes of Section 401, 408K, 408P, 410, 411, 415, and 416, under regulations prescribed by the Secretary, all employees of trades or businesses, whether or not incorporated, which are under common control, shall be treated as employed by a single employer. So even though you are employed by a partnership, you are treated as though you are employed by a single employer. The regulations prescribed under this subsection shall be based on principles similar to the principles which apply to the case of subsection D. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and move on to subsection M if we can find it. Well, there's a church plan there, and let's see. There's F, G, H, there's L, aha, here we go, subsection M, employees of an affiliated service group. Wow, here we go. For purposes of the employee benefit requirements listed in paragraph 4, except to the extent otherwise provided in regulations, all employees of the members of an affiliated service group shall be treated as employed by a single employer. So if you're employed by an affiliated service group, you're going to be treated as though you are employed by a single employer. So let's define what an affiliated service group is. For purposes of this subsection, the term affiliated service group means a group consisting of a service organization, hereinafter in this paragraph referred to as the first organization, of one or more of the following. Any service organization which is a shareholder or partner in the first organization, regularly performs services for the first organization or is regularly associated with the first organization in performing services for the third persons and any other organization if a significant portion of the business of such organization is the performance of services for the first organization And it goes on and on and on. 10% or more of the interest in such organization is held by persons who are highly compensated employees within the meaning of Section 414 of the first organization. Whew. Anyway, now we got service organizations. They define all those. And then we've got employee benefit requirements, which they state. And you can read all this for yourself. At least now you know what's going on. Now, you say, well, where is letter O? Well, here's letter O. The Secretary shall prescribe such regulations which may provide rules in addition to the rules contained in subsections M and N, as may be necessary to prevent the avoidance of any employee benefit requirement listed in subsection M4 or N3 of any requirement under subsection 457 through the use of separate organizations, employee listing, or other arrangements. The regulations prescribed under subsection N shall include provisions to minimize the record-keeping requirements of subsection N in the case of employer which has no top-heavy plans, yada yada, and so on and so forth. And this apparently talks about the regulations about companies that were in section M and N. Now, we talked about M. We did not talk about N. There you go. But now you have found all these wonderful little sections. You can read all this stuff up yourself. If you want to comment on any of this, you are more than welcome to. As you see, this thing just goes on and on and on, and I really don't want to go through all of this. I'm sure you understand. Anyway, I told you I'd locate section 414, and I did locate it for you, and I told you it was in there, so you can use that. Basically, what they're saying is that even though you're employed by several employers, you're going to be treated as though you were employed by a single employer. And that's what they said. Hopefully you got all that. If you have any questions whatsoever, leave them in the comments down here below. I will tell you more in a future video, so stay tuned.